Some may find the following disturbing. Discretion is advised.
Can you do one favor before you go? Can you say, this is Adrian Amos and you're listening to Bears Barroom Radio?
3, 2, 1.
This is Adrian Amos and you're listening to Bears Barroom Radio.
Bears Barroom, 100 proof. This show here is dedicated to authenticity and to passion and to the loyal Chicago Bears fans out there. There's no talk about what Joe Madden's doing today or the closer. This is about the Chicago Bears, and it's dedicated to everybody out there that watched in 97 and 98 and saw 4 and 12, and it fucking hurt both years. Or the people that went through that egregiously ineptitude that we had with 3 and 13 2 years ago with John Fox, and you still watched and you still fucking cared. This podcast is for you. 100 proof. Statistical analysis is pondered here. It's respected here. But there's more to it than that. If you want substance, you want things extrapolated and broken down for you, the tape doesn't lie. This is the place for you. It's 100 proof. However, if you're one of these motherfuckers starting these straw man arguments, these keyboard tough guys on Twitter, crutching on your Pro Football Focus, then maybe you should go to one of your micro podcasts. If you're one of these guys that are blatantly uninformed and just repeating what the national media says, whatever the narrative of the day is, hot takes and so forth, even if it is a holiday, even if it is your holiday, and you don't want to be called out and criticized, then this podcast isn't for you either. If you like frauds and phony insiders talking to all their general manager contacts with their crooked fucking eyes, then maybe go to one of those said other micro podcasts. If you want the truth and you want 100% talk about the Chicago Bears, then welcome. This is 100 proof. You will not be disappointed. This is the best goddamn podcast out there. They're about to bring it for you. It's Aldo Gandia. It's Shane, the smartest man. It's Draft Dr. Phil. It's 100 proof.
He started out rough and tough in Brooklyn. He got in trouble all the time and they called him a hoodlum. But then he found this great game and he began to, we got Rashad, we got Rashad, we got Rashad. Da 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 da. Football is the thing that helped him turn it around.
Come on, check it out.
It wasn't perfect at first and there were ups and downs, The more he played, the more the scouts were, oh my God, yo, we got Rashad. We got Rashad, we got Rashad. Da, 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 da. He started out with the Bears on the defensive line. Drafted only motivated him in his mind. Ooh. He's now an offensive tackle, and we're in awe. And cause we got Rashad, we got Rashad, we got Rashad. Bring it back. Fangio questioned him, you wanna play 10 years? Gonna move you to the other side and extend your career. Now Barroom is glad that they can cheer. In all, we got Rashad, we got Rashad, we got Rashad. We got 6'6" and angry from Sheep's Head Bay. Go Brooklyn, go Brooklyn. Doubters and haters said 53. There's no way. Now he's coming up and he's ready to play. God, we got Rashad, we got Rashad, we got Rashad. Fuck you, haters. Fuck. Ooh. Oh. Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh. Yeah. Nah. A Bears Barroom, they're the ones that fight for truth. Bears are alive or 100 proof, even if the Bears win or lose. A Bears Barroom, they're the ones that fight for truth. Bears are alive or 100 proof, no matter if the Bears win or lose. Yo, first, the smartest man, no tweets he's ever missing. Impossible, the mission, calling out frauds with precision.
A Bears 100 proof, these faces number one is Zora. Slaying dumb tweets, cross-eyed like Katora.
Never one to back down to call a fraud a lemon.
Wise man, no doubt, Miller's asterisk ending.
Cheers,
Bears fans. The fire Puerto Rican barkeeper for Chicagoland. He's the godfather, the one, the real producer. Always keeping the show together with the voice that will seduce us. Risking out a Firefox, the old timer never stops. IPA, drafts, malts, crafts, barkeep takes the shots.
No deny.
Barflies appreciated worldwide. Canada, Scotland, England, Brazil, Mexico, and Dubai. Dr. Phil is the guy, the one to realize that the barroom needed a show with an endless shoot supply. Gone big coat for the narrative on color, brought the Jasons of Gabay for Mitchell. Now I'm the usher. Standing up for the truth. You know your boy's the little guy. These media heads won't give us credits up to the barflies. Flies. Fuck a fraud in his keyboard, Twitter tough guys surround us. Raining truth on the Bears worldwide, barflies astound us. This is the #1 pod, that's the reality of the truth. And if you don't know us by now, Bears 100 proof. A Bears Barroom, they're the ones that fight for truth. Bears are alive or 100 proof. Even if the Bears win or lose.
What is up, YouTube? Man, on the go here. Packers just signed Adrian Amos, the Bears safety. I'm talking with you about how I'm so happy the Packers signed Adrian Amos or Amos, whatever you say it or how anybody says it. I don't care.
Fans, this is Bears 100 Proof, and you just heard one of the smartest Packer fans in the world. That young man, I found him on the internet, on YouTube, and he's got a future in broadcasting, I'll tell you that. Now, he may not pronounce all the names correctly. Reminds me of someone I know. He and I have that same problem, but his future is a lot brighter than mine ever was, I'll tell you that. My name is Aldo Gandia. I serve the drinks here, but don't you worry, the stars of our show are here. They are, of course, Shane, the smartest man in the barroom, Marsaw, and Draft Dr. Phil Latoshin, my two brothers from another mother. We've got a very special guest lined up tonight. Hopefully he'll be joining us soon. His name, Jason McKie. You know him as the former fullback of the Chicago Bears, and he does a lot of broadcast work here in Chicago. We've got a lot to cover. Free agency. And later in the show, after tweets, we've got a very special topic to talk about. And I'll just leave it at that for now. Right now, I'm going to spin the bottle and see who I talk to first. And it is Shane Marsaw. What a surprise.
I win again.
How are you, brother Shane?
I'm doing better. I was glad you said from another mother. I was worried about my mama there for a little while, that she gave birth to a 60-year-old Puerto Rican back in the day.
Phil, how you doing, brother?
Good. I'm fucking getting fired up because of this fucking video thing.
Phil's been trying to fix an app on his phone that allows him to capture some video and just been as frustrated as all hell. That's
mine's working fine, Aldo.
He's the hardest working man in the barroom. You're the smartest one, and he's the hardest working. There's no doubt about that. Listen, guys, we have so much to talk about. And Jason McKie, it is, let's see, 8:33 here in Chicago, 9:33 out east where you guys are. Jason McKie will join us in less than 30 minutes. So that gives us an opportunity to talk some stuff. I want to start, first of all, with the reason I played that Rashard Coward song, because in my mind, the biggest thing that's happened in free agency for the Chicago Bears was what happened today when they did the tenders on Rashard Coward, Roy Robertson Harris, and Isaiah Irving. Those three players are gold. Bears fans may not recognize this. They're so obsessed with getting Earl Thomas, Le'Veon Bell, all these big-name free agents. I'm telling you that of these three guys, we might have three bona fide blue-chip players, or a little less, or maybe a lot less, but nonetheless, these three guys are huge retentions by Ryan Pace and the Chicago Bears, and I go to you first, Draft Dr. Phil. Am I full of shit or am I onto something?
No, you're totally onto something. It's the truth. We had Rashad Coward on the show. The guy obviously stood out to me and Shane in the preseason. I know you and Shimon.
I didn't know who the fuck he was.
Cut him.
I had no idea.
Cut him.
He's
Hey,
a
don't feel bad.
defensive
Lauren
lineman.
Cox wanted Roy Robb cut a couple years ago, too, when he was with us.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah, I didn't know that.
Jesus Christ.
I forgot. Yeah,
Well,
I love these guys.
Well, we saw the talent there.
Mm-hmm.
You can't, overlook that. You're always right. Everybody talking about the name, but the homegrown talent growing in your backyard, that might be the best stuff to smoke on the block.
We interrupt 100 Proof to bring you this message from Reefer Man.
Thank God for my reefer, man.
So that's what it comes down to, and it really ultimately is the truth in these players. Now, who was the third one? Because I missed it. It was obviously Roy Robb and Coward, and then it was
Isaiah Irving.
Isaiah Irving, yes.
Yeah,
and there's the
they-
kid that showed some pass rush skills again against when he finally got an opportunity against the Vikings.
Mm-hmm.
Here he comes finishing on sacks.
Mm-hmm.
So those three players, I'm totally with you. I think if anybody is a fan of this show, you know how I feel about Roy Robinson Harris.
Mm-hmm.
Can never even say his name right. I love him so much.
Join the group.
RRH. But the guy, I believe, and this isn't like, this is my truth, is a better option to play outside than what you have in Floyd because of the tenacity, athleticism, and the twitchiness, along with the point of attack strength. I really think that if he was given an opportunity to go there, then you have something very special. But either way, you saw what he did opening night against the Packers, forcing that turnover.
And this time he's going to go down. It's going to be picked off by Mack. Mack with the interception. And Mack will take it all the way in for a touchdown. How crazy was that? Robertson Harris extracted the ball.
And there's over and over and over again with this kid. So this will be his third year now, or will it be his fourth?
His rookie year, he actually didn't. He sat out. Remember, he had mono or some shit like
some
that.
sickness happened.
Yeah. So he's heading into year 4, correct?
So
Correct.
it must be that. Yeah, this was his third past year. That's what I meant. So now he's going into his 4th year. So this is the year for a defensive lineman. I always say that I think it's the hardest position to transition from college to pro. And when you find those dynamic players, they do it. But physicality and mental toughness of the speed of the game, real quick.
Real fucking quick.
Going up against the fucking wily veteran. You could be the most talented rookie in the goddamn world. That wily veteran knows all these tricks to knock you on your ass and embarrass you. So you might be the greatest thing since sliced bread.
What's so great about sliced bread? You got a knife, you got a loaf of bread, slice the fucking thing and get on with your life.
But until you put it all together and have these wars, if you will, under your belt, then I think that's where you're going to see Roy Robb grow. And Coward, great guy. I just think that transition, I know me and you talked about it, Shane, with him. I don't think fans realize how immense these stories. We had one last week with Josh Woods switching positions, and we have Rashad who switched positions and sides of the football, and they're in the NFL doing it. That in itself says what it is. So I'm excited about them. And like I said, Isaiah I'm going to be interested to see him because he does have pass rush technique and twitchiness, and he got stronger.
One thing you want to keep in mind about Robertson Harris, too, is it's not just us as Bears fans talking about this guy and believing in him. If you go back to week 1 when Khalil Mack was putting on a show, when I think it was on the play, I forget, I don't know if it was on his interception or if it was on his strip fumble. Chris Collinsworth, they're talking about Mack, saying Mack is the defensive player of the year already. Chris Collinsworth pipes right up and he said, and you know who my number 2 is?
That's right.
It's Roy Robertson Harris. He goes, I've watched this kid, and every time I see him, he's getting into the backfield so fast.
Today, and it is amazing how many times, for the percentage of plays he was in the game last year, he impacted the quarterback. Here's a screen pass, and he gets there so fast that Kaiser doesn't even have a chance to make a play. And then that's
not coming from a Bears fan. That's coming from a national guy that's not watching him all the time. But when he focuses in on him, he sees those special traits, and that's why you keep him around another year. Develop him before you have to pay him, because he's, especially in a year like now with the limited draft capital that we have, the UDFA market is going to be a humongous part of what the Bears add to this roster. Yep. And who are we talking about right now? We're talking about Rashad Coward, UDFA. We're talking about Roy Robb, UDFA. All these guys. I mean, Bryce Callahan was a big part of the Bears, UDFA. These guys all matter. And to just go off of the guys that were I was a little surprised they non-tendered Houston Carson.
Mm-hmm. I was too.
I'm hoping their thinking is along the lines with Broniker, that they can re-sign him at a lower rate than what the tender would have been.
Mm-hmm. Well, because I think the Eagles tried
to poach him off the practice squad. The Bears elevated him, and I mean they will be first in line. I'm sure they're already on the phone with him to give him a shot, in Philly. But hopefully Pace. Some of these guys, they don't have to come in, and they don't ever have to be starters. They can be key special teams contributors, and that's where Houston Carson made his waves in college. And he could, hopefully do that in Chicago. But I was a little surprised to see him. And then Patrick Scales, I think he'll be back. They non-tendered him, even though he's 31 years old. How many restricted free agents do you see at 31 years old? That's pretty rare. But no, I was very happy, and I do agree with you, Aldo. I think it's a very underrated element of the Bears' offseason so far is bringing those guys back like that.
We're going to get into the other free agent moves, but I want to devote some time here to our man Adrian Amos, who is now a member of the... I'm not going to say the fucking name.
You traitor.
What did I say last time? I should have pulled the clip where I told him I'll root for you for whatever team you go to.
Because you did say that.
Now, here's what I also said, and this was way back in, I believe it was August of 2018. I told him that he was going to hit the jackpot at free agency, and this is how I put it. Well, Adrian, let me tell you that you can tell your scout to give us a call here because we can feed him all sorts of information as to why you should be among the highest paid safeties in the league. For instance, you had 26 defensive stops last year, according to Pro Football Focus, and that was just 2 fewer than Harrison Smith, and you did it on 300 fewer snaps than Harrison Smith did it. And just for the record, Smith in June of 2016, he signed a 5-year, $52 million contract that included $28.57 million guaranteed and a signing bonus of $10 million. I think you deserve more as the salary cap has continued to expand since then, so I'm hoping that you get the good payday there because you deserve every cent of it.
Well, I hope you're talking to him, man. So you need to, you need to call in there and tell him that. So,
I will.
So yeah,
I should have called because Amos got robbed. He only got a 4-year deal at $36 million and $12 million guaranteed. Nonetheless, it's a great payday for our man, Adrian Amos, and I'm proud of him. And while I hate the fact that it ended up going way, it is a business. I totally appreciate it, and I know you two guys feel the same way.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I talked to Phil about it, as soon as it happened, and absolutely, it's the same type of deal, back when the Bears moved on from Julius Peppers. I can remember texting Phil when they found out he was going to Green Bay. You get that initial kick in the nuts, and yeah, of course it's a rival. I had a little bit different outlook on it than Phil did. Hey, Adrian, just as a person away from football, as a friend, however you want to phrase it, the guy got paid. He's got financial security, and then you want that. Do you want it at the expense of your favorite football team? No. I just didn't ever look at Adrian Amos leaving the Bears. I didn't think it was going to be a huge hole in our roster. And that doesn't mean that I'm trashing the guy. Absolutely. Everybody's replaceable in the NFL. I mean, Peyton Manning got released at one point. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? I'm just saying I didn't think that it was a detriment to this defense moving forward. And hey, good luck to Adrian. I wish him health and happiness in Green Bay. But you know what? I'm a Bears fan, and we're coming for you. Mitch is coming for you. Allen Robinson, Turbo, Trey Burton, everybody. Mm-hmm. I'm not going to be rooting for Adrian when they're lining up against the Bears ever.
Nope.
That's just the way that it is. But as a person, yeah, you wish him well. He got his financial security, and it's a testament to Adrian Amos, the person, because he's a 5th rounder that came in with really no shot. Mm-hmm. He came in and he surprised from day one. He lost his job. He earned it back. He never made a fucking peep, and he just got paid. So cheers to you, Adrian. I don't like it that you're in Green Bay, but I'm not going to be a small-minded dickhead like 95% of the mouth breathers out there on Twitter that are calling him a traitor and all that, because every one of them would leave their jobs in an instant. Most of them would leave their wife and family. Let's be honest. A lot of them don't even have that. They're just fucking sitting at home in their big baller pads.
Dickhead, you're such a dickhead. And everybody knows it, everyone but you. You're a dickhead. I hope you'll soon be dead.
So it is what it is. But, good luck to you, Adrian. Like I said, Chicago's coming for you, though.
That's right.
Just be fair warned.
And as we are recording this on Wednesday night at 8:46 Central Time, we have heard that Ha Clinton Dix is in town, perhaps talking to the Chicago Bears. Perhaps he's not going to leave town. Perhaps there's going to be a signing. And if that happens, Phil, what's going to be your reaction to that?
I'm going to be happy, Yeah. I'm a big fan of Amos. Totally agree with everything you both brought to the table. I think it's silly when we mix humanity, fandom, fanatic with business. We're all disappointed. But that being said, Shane said it perfectly as well as you, and would make me happy because I think the safety position, I said it on BHL Monday night, the continuity there has been a revolving door. So you finally had something I thought really special, whether you believe in Amos or not. But is a proven veteran. And to be perfectly honest, I really think that's necessary here. It also lends itself to what Shane said about Harold Jones Quartet. What's not Harold Jones Quartet? No. Houston Carson because he's a backup safety.
Right.
Amos left. You got Bush here. Do you have any other safety on the roster? I don't know. I can't think of one off the top of my head. So now you are going into this season with a hole there. You had 20 of 22 starters coming back. Skrine, Buster, we're going to get into, but You sign, hey, he's going to be a starter at the nickel corner. So now there's one giant hole. So, yeah, I like Clinton Dix. I like the safety market. I really loved Amos, but I don't think, and I think, Shane, you said this too, but I think you said it about our boy, the dude who got the freaking, he must have hit the Powerball in Washington, Landon Collins' contract. But Clinton Dix also comes from Alabama, where Deshae Townsend is the head, the defensive back coach now with the Bears, and that kind of understanding and feeling could have led to Ryan Pace and company moving on from him. And Townsend, obviously, listen, Pagano doesn't come here with a secondary coach that he doesn't like, and trust. This might be something, listen, they're talking business, they're going over the roster. I really love this dude. I love this kid. I think he fits our system better, and that's Dix. And it's reported, right, Shane, that he's in town tonight into tomorrow.
That's right, according to Ian Rappaport.
We know how these things go. He's in there. If they want him, it's not going to drag out until tomorrow.
They also cleared up all that cap.
Yeah.
They all cleared up all that cap. So
let me ask you guys this question.
Do you have those numbers too? Read them down of all the safety signings. It's like crazy how it goes about 2 million less. 2 million.
But that's how it goes, man. That's how
now,
you can see their value in the league.
We can let's set an offer as each of us for Clinton Dix. Is everybody here in unison? You'd be happy with signing him?
Oh, fucking A.
Oh, yeah. And I mean, the thing is, there's a couple little underrated things here with where I think you're going to lose some aggressiveness up in the box. He's not going to be Adrian Amos up there. You know what I mean? You're going to lose a little bit there. But, Chachi was DMing me, asking me about and what I thought, and I busted out the old Walt Harris reference. 90% of the world is covered in water. The other 10% is going to be covered by Eddie and you're going to make up for it on the back end. Right. You're going to have Amos was underrated athletically. I think he got undersold there, but he's not as athletic as Clinton Dix is, in my mind, by everything that I've watched. So you're gonna make it up there. And came into the league in 2014, guys. Mm-hmm. He's younger than Eddie Jackson is. Mm-hmm. Eddie Jackson was drafted in 2017.
Mm-hmm. That's crazy.
It's crazy. And if they go out and sign, Dustin Regan Padilla, friend of the show, sent me a little blurb for tonight. If the Bears sign Clinton Dix, they have 3 first-round draft picks from the 2014 draft: Khalil Mack, Kyle Fuller, and Clinton Dix.
Oh, nice, huh?
That's a nice little nugget. But back to the player himself. At this point, you put him in there, and I don't think he's probably going to get Adrian Amos money at this point. If you're staying true to what Phil was talking about, how these deals are progressively getting smaller, it'll probably be in the ballpark.
We interrupt this program to bring you a special report.
I'm sorry. You keep talking. I just got to grab my wallet because I'm trying a hard reset. So like the backload from the cloud of yesterday, so the app should be there, right? Because it'll reload. But I need my wallet because I can't fucking
go get your wallet.
I got you. Sorry.
This guy
I get focused on. That's important to my everyday production of.
My man, I got to talk about you while you're away. Go get your wallet. My man, Draft Dr. Phil, has an obsessive compulsive disorder. When he is focused on something, he just like, he'll multitask or he'll fucking block everything out because he wants to get this shit done. I've experienced that. He sends me a fucking email saying, hey, I put this thing out for you in Dropbox. Will you check it out? And then, me, I'm fucking sleeping or jerking off.
3 minutes later, did you watch it yet?
Exactly.
Did you watch it?
It's the funniest shit.
He'll text me when I'm at work. And like I said, I'm not sitting at a desk at work. I have a little bit different than Phil's setup. He'll text me and be like, "Hey, can you call me real quick so we can go over some stuff?" I'm like, yeah. And then I'll fucking call him. I'll like say so. I'll go on for like 35 seconds trying to get my point across, and then I hear fucking nothing. And Phil's like, "What the fuck? This fucking app won't work." And I'm like, Did you hear? And he's like, "Huh? What? Did you just say something?" I'm like, "Bro, you just told me to call you. You need to talk about something."
I remember. I don't know.
He hyper focuses big time.
I don't know if he did it on the air or before he rolled on something, but Adam Rank said the same thing.
Come meet me at Portillo's and let's get it on.
Adam Rank of the NFL Network says, "Yeah, Phil will call me or send me a message and stuff, and I don't respond right away. And Phil is like worried about me. Are you okay?
Is your house on fire?"
What are we talking about now?
We're talking about how you always like want to get something resolved right away. Like you'll send a message to somebody and you'll expect an immediate response because you get so obsessive about whatever it is you're doing. You want to move on. You want to check that thing off your list and move on. And so it's hilarious. Adam Rank was telling us, I don't remember if it was on the air or when, but he was telling us that, you know what I think it was?
Really?
Yeah, it was. Rank was on Buffon 55, and before we started rolling, we were talking about Bears Barroom and so forth, and I told him, thanks for all the stuff that you do. I know you and Phil are in constant contact, and he's probably bugging the shit out of you, and he goes, he's the funniest motherfucker. He will send me a note, and then if I don't respond right away, he's like worried about my family or whatever. I love it.
Jesus.
I love it. All right, Phil, you asked a question about the salaries of safeties, and we got 5 minutes here before I got to call Jason. Here's the key thing. We've learned that the average salary per year really doesn't mean anything. It's the total guaranteed bucks that these guys are most interested in. And Landon Collins hit the big payday at $45.5 million. Earl Thomas follows that with $32 million. Kareem Jackson, 31-year-old Kareem Jackson, $23 million. LaMarcus Joyner follows him at $21.3. And then the amazing drop-off. This is why I should have been Adrian Amos's agent. $12 million guaranteed for Adrian Amos. And so the trick for Ryan Pace and his negotiating crew is to figure out a way to get Clinton Dix here at around that guaranteed dollar amount. Because if you end up giving Clinton Dix more guaranteed dollars than Adrian Amos got, then in my opinion, you fouled out, lack of a better way of putting it. He's going to take some clever negotiating. I would have Eddie Jackson there. I would have other players.
Deshae Townsend.
Yeah. Have a group of guys telling them how great this team is, that we're going to get a ring, that you're going to get a chance to stick it up Packers' ass 2 games in a row. That it's all, and you got to pay the guy. You got to pay the guy money, but man, you just cannot end up.
Do you think a 1-year deal is out of the question here? Well, I don't.
You know what? I don't know. I was reading this interview with Le'Veon Bell, and he was talking about how it was important for him, not to feel like he's being used by the NFL, by the Pittsburgh Steelers, and that he wanted that security and so forth. And I think that's a big growing feeling among players. They're feeling like, for lack of a better way of putting it, slaves, and they want to get paid long-term security. Clinton Dix doesn't want to come here and play for a Super Bowl team if he's going to have a torn ACL that's going to hamper his earning power the rest of the time. So I don't know.
Well, the way that I look at it is what better defense to come and try to prove your worth on when you're surrounded by that much talent. I mean, that's only going to drive your value up if you stay healthy.
Yep.
You're right. This defense with the talent, you're playing next to fucking Eddie Jackson. You're talking about covering some area. I mean, that's that much less area you have to cover because of Eddie. And you have all these guys in front of you, Akeem Hicks, Khalil Mack. I mean, I'm going to throw Bilal Nichols in there. I think he's going to take one of the biggest jumps out of anybody on the team, year 1 to year 2. So, I mean, he may not. If you're offering him $12 million guaranteed or $11 million, like you said, to go a little bit less than Amos, he might be costing himself money
Yeah.
If you give him the chance to hit the UFA market next year, he's only 26 right now.
Mm-hmm.
So he'd hit UFA at 27, playing with a top 3 defense, top 2 defense, maybe the top defense in 2019.
Good point.
That 12 million might go up to 32 million. You pop off 5, 6, 7 interceptions.
I also think that maybe he's worth more than Adrian Amos. You know, the fact that we know this about HaHa Clinton Dix, as much as we love Adrian Amos, that he's a better coverage safety.
He's got a better track record.
Yes.
And for longer.
Yes. I mean, Amos has had, 4 interceptions in his career with the Chicago. 3. HaHa Clinton Dix might be a good bet to surpass that in one season. Oh, my gosh. You know, you want to throw away from Eddie Jackson, or you're going to throw HaHa's away? Oh, you're going to get picked, brother. Okay, let's bring in Jason McKie here. I'm really, really psyched about this interview.
We all know the sad current state of the Chicago Bears fullback position. And Barflies, we know you aren't happy. Having said that, that's why we're reaching into the past to reel in a guy that wasn't afraid to blow motherfuckers up that were coming in for our quarterbacks. This guy is out of Gulf Breeze, Florida, born and raised, and then was off to Temple University before finally finding a home with our beloved Chicago Bears. He was on the team that went to Super Bowl 41. Barflies, stand up and give the appropriate ovation for a real fullback, a real blocker. And that's a shot at you, Michael Burton. Please give it up now for the gentleman that's 5'11" and 237 pounds of chiseled lead. Ladies and gentlemen, Bears 100 Proof presents to you now, number 37. This is Jason McKie.
That's how we roll here, Jason McKie. That's how we introduce our guests. They get every plaudit they deserve. And, brother, you deserve every single word there. That was written by Shane Marsall and produced by Draft Dr. Phil Atoshin, my 2 cohorts who are with me now. Jason, how are you doing?
I'm doing good, man. That's an awesome introduction. I appreciate you guys, man, for putting that together, man, and realizing that fullbacks' lives matter. You get no love on the field, man. There's only like 2 fullbacks in the NFL now, but you know, when I played, it was a good honor, man, because my teammates always appreciated what I did, and they still do to this day, and that just speaks volumes about the Bears organization and the team that we had over there at Hallis Hall.
We have so much to cover with you, so we're going to try to jam it all into the amount of time that you'll give us. I think, let me turn it over to Shane, who wrote that introduction, and as one of your biggest fans in the room here.
Hey, Jason, thanks for giving us the time tonight. We really appreciate it.
No problem, man. Thank you for the introduction, man, and pleasure to be on, man, and you guys are doing a good thing, man, so anytime I can help out, you know, my line's always open.
Perfect. Hey, we'll jump right into it. You heard the little blurb there in your intro about Michael Burton. He's taken a lot of heat from us here at the Barroom trying to figure out exactly what he's good at and how he's eaten up a roster spot. I don't know how much you've dove into the 2018 Bears roster, if you look at fullbacks around the league, but what is your take on Michael Burton? We look at him here like he's been somebody that's really struggled and hasn't really showed us a whole lot in Chicago, and I would just be interested to know what your take is on it.
Yeah, well, looking at that, I'm not going to put the blame on Michael Burton. I've had the opportunity to meet him and see him, you know, practice and obviously see him play. But, you know, they don't use fullback, and Nagy's often doesn't use fullback either, so it's not like he has that many opportunities. So, I mean, we can't really place the blame on him because I think it's an unfair assessment as us as Bears fans and Bears analysts to really see what he can do. We're not able to see what he can do because he's had so little time out there on the field. I know he's involved in special teams, you know, when he's active, when they have him, you know, up active playing. I know he's involved in special teams, you know, doing what he can do there, but I think it's unfair to really make a general assessment on the type of player he is when he hasn't been given, you know, those opportunities due to the offense that he's in.
Jason, are you ever have consideration of running for politics? Because that was very diplomatic of you.
No, it's not diplomatic. I mean, I'm not. That's the truth. I mean, when you look at a guy nowadays, when I played, I was playing 30, 35 plays a game and special teams. When you look at the league now, and I talked about this on another show, it's, you know, there's like 3 fullbacks in the league, and It upsets me that there's 3 fullbacks in the league, but it also upsets me because, 2 out of those 3 fullbacks, they're going to the Pro Bowl every year. And they're only playing like 4 plays a game.
Yeah.
So I'm like, well, how can this guy be a 3-time Pro Bowler, but he's only playing 4 snaps a game? Well, they got to pick somebody, and there's only 2 guys they can pick from. There's only 1 fullback in the AFC and 1 in the NFC, where those guys got to go to the Pro Bowl. You see what I'm saying? So I think that, in that situation, that's a discredit to a lot of the guys. Back when I was playing, there was a lot of fullbacks in the league, so a lot of guys who didn't get the opportunity to go to the Pro Bowl. I think it's a discredit to them. But in Burton's case, I can't really say he's a bad player or he's eating up a roster. I mean, I think he's eating up a roster spot because they're not using a fullback, so therefore you can bring somebody else in which you're going to use him on the field. But I can't say he's a bad player or a bad fullback because there's not enough tape for me to really evaluate his value and his work as a fullback.
Solid argument. You got my vote for president. Phil, what do you got?
I'm gonna call a spade a spade.
There you go.
He's not good. I'm gonna say it, man, because that's just how that's how we are, and that's how our locker room was, and we held everybody accountable, and we never wanted to be that guy.
Well, you're on the perfect show because we call the show 100 Proof because we try to keep it real and so forth. And we desperately wanted your opinion on this stuff because all 3 of us here, Shane, Phil, and myself, we've seen, Mr. Burton who kind of run around looking for somebody to block and looking unbalanced at time and so forth and being overpowered. And you're absolutely right. The amount of snaps that he's on the field have probably hampered his play, and to make a fair assessment of his play is probably not fair to him. So we'll move on to a different topic. Draft Dr. Phil, what do you got?
Well, I'm going to call bullshit on Jason because I just don't see it, Jason. I'm sorry. I've watched you play, and there's a mentality and a technique and an effort that goes along with this position, and I just don't see it from the guy. Never have. And now that we have you on, let's talk about fullbacks, because take us back in the day. You're coming out in the draft. What was that like to go undrafted and find your way ultimately in the NFL? We've had a lot of players come on the show this offseason from the college game with hopes and dreams of getting drafted. So take us through that day and everything that transpired in the early part of your career, if you will.
Yeah, it was different. I wasn't a first, second, third rounder. Obviously, I wasn't drafted. So, be quite honest, it pissed me off. I was pissed off because there was guys who in my conference had played the same position, who I had played against, and I felt like I was a better player, a better fullback than they were. A couple of those guys, one guy got drafted 6th round to the Bills, another guy who was rated the top-rated fullback coming out. I think his name was Charles Stackhouse. He went to Ole Miss. He got drafted in like the 4th round, and I was like, man, to be quite honest, these dudes can't hold my jock strap, to put it quite frankly. So I was pissed off, and I worked even harder. That just motivated me. That just added more fuel to the fire. So, when I had my pro day, I ended up having the second best numbers as far as pro days that the fullback had at the combine. And then, combine that with, what I was able to do at Temple University, I was able to show my versatility, coming out of the backfield, catching the ball, but also being able to be a short yardage running back. So I felt like, hell, I was the best fullback, in the draft and went undrafted. So that didn't really matter to me. I knew that once I got on the team and, we put those pads on, it was all about playing football. And I had the opportunity to go to the Philadelphia Eagles, a great organization with a great coach like Andy Reid. John Harbaugh was there at the same time. Dave Tobe was there, who ended up being our special teams coordinator for the Bears, was there as well. Awesome coaches. So when I got to Philadelphia, we put the pads on. Before we even put the pads on, I told Andy Reid, I said, hey, Coach, I know, I'm an undrafted nobody from Temple, but I said, no disrespect. I don't want to go against the 4th string guys, the guys in college. I want to go against your starters every day in training camp. Whether you put me on the scout team and I got to go against the first and second team defense, and I want to go against the best guys. So I want to prove to you that, hey, I am the best fullback on your roster. And, he looked at me like I was crazy, and I said, no disrespect to you or the guys that I'm going against. This is what I want to do to show you that, I do belong here. And having an opportunity, move up the depth chart fairly quick. I started off 4th on the depth chart. By the end of camp, I was switching in with the ones with a fullback we had there named Cecil Martin. And, ended up keeping Cecil Martin on the active roster to put me on practice squad. And then from practice squad, I got, I had good preseason. I got signed by the Dallas Cowboys, ended up playing there my rookie year, half of my rookie year. And then after my rookie year, a new coach came in by the name of Bill Parcells. They brought in all their guys. He already had a fullback who he was familiar with. And then I ended up here in Chicago. And, ended up here in Chicago, and I actually got the opportunity to show that I could play the position and be effective. And, the rest is history.
Hey, Jason, a couple months ago we had Thomas Jones on with us, and we were talking about, back in the day, the glory days of the Bears back in, the mid-2000s, and when you guys made your run in the playoffs and then the next year into the Super Bowl. I'd just like to get your outlook on it. We asked Thomas the same exact question. What exactly was going through your mind down in Miami when you saw Devin on that kickoff to open up the Super Bowl? Where was your mind frame when you were sitting there watching that, or just being a part of it? And what were your thoughts seeing that unfold live?
I was actually looking at my ring finger. It was like, we got this shit.
Thomas said the same thing.
I was like, we got this shit. And I think me and Thomas looked at each other and said that, because just look at that year. Any time that we had a special teams touchdown, we won the game. It was damn near probably 90% that we got a special teams touchdown. The game, we were going to win the game. So when we returned that kick, I was like, oh, man, we're going to beat the brakes off these guys, and I think that's what I said. I think I looked at Thomas Jones, and I was looking at my ring finger, and I was like, man, we got this shit. So that's that was my mindset. And, we came out like gangbusters. And, obviously, everybody knows how the game went, but it was a great experience. It was a great run. I wouldn't change that run, with the guys that we had in that locker room. For the world, I would change the outcome, obviously, but to be able to reach that pinnacle and playing that game with my brothers, my teammates that we had in our locker room, I wouldn't change that part for the world.
Hey, Jason, we've actually had Thomas on both times, and both times he's recalled the story about how emotional he got when he was taken. He wanted to stay on the field after his, 60-yard run, and he went back to the sideline. He knew that Cedric Benson was going to get the next series, and he talks to his running back coach, and he said, and these were his words exactly, "Don't take me off this fucking field. Don't take me off this fucking field. Don't take me off this fucking field." And then what happens in the next series? Benson goes in. There's the turnover, and the rest is history. Can you compliment that story from Thomas Jones with your perspective on what happened then?
Yeah, those guys, both those guys are highly competitive guys. Thomas is really emotional, highly competitive guy. Cedric the same way. And, we were gashing, the Colts defense. That was our formula all year. We had a great defense, obviously, that got a lot of turnovers and put our offense in position to score. And we ran the ball effectively. And when we ran the ball effectively, we were a good passing team because it settled the play action. And then we had elite special teams. We had the number one special teams unit in the league that year. So that was a recipe to win. And, to get that touchdown by Devin, that was right in our wheelhouse. And then to go out there on that first drive and we ran the ball down the Colts' throat. And, to go down there and score the way that we had been playing all year, playing that brand of Bears football, and to take him out, I can see his frustration because, you got to ride the hot hand. And at that point, T. Jones, he was the hot hand. He was churning up yards. We were road grading the Colts, and they weren't known as a defense that was stout against the run, and we knew that. So we're like, we're going to come out here, and we're going to run the ball down their throat. And that was our mentality in practice. And that's what we did the first series. And after that, it just, for whatever reason, we didn't end up finishing the game like that. But, I just feel like if we kept that formula, kept running the ball and stuck to the formula that we had all year, that we used to go out through the season and to ride the wave through the playoffs, I think we'd have a ring right now.
Jason, talk to me about your dad. I heard this story about your dad was in the Pentagon when 9/11 transpired. Wow. Is this a true story?
Yeah. So my dad is Air Force. He's been in the Air Force he was retired Air Force for 23 years and currently a government contractor who still works in the Pentagon. So he, on 9/11, he had been at the Pentagon. I think that was like his third year there. So he was there, lost a couple of friends that day. So, 9/11 in our family is an extremely difficult day, especially for my father. But I'm thankful that, he was able to make it out of there, in one piece and to, continue being there for our family.
Well, thanks to your father for his service to our country, and our hearts go out to you and everyone in the McKie family. That's tragic stuff right there. And what can you say? Just God bless you and your family on that.
Yeah, when I read it, I was like, I gotta ask, because it was almost like a rumor type of thing, and I'm like, wow, that's pretty powerful. And for you being a football player in the pros and what have you, and having to think about your dad, it's just wow, really powerful, man. Thank you.
Yeah, I appreciate it, man. My father is my father, man. Without him and my family and my mom and everybody, but maybe without my father, I wouldn't have played a down in the NFL. With the work ethic that he instilled in me, I grew up in a militant type of way. So, growing up, for Christmas, most kids got toys and stuff like that. Well, I got combat boots, and why did I get combat boots? Because you wanted me to wear those. You wanted me to wear those to cut the grass at 6 a.m. on Saturday. And when I got in trouble, it was push-ups and all kinds of stuff like that. But when you're a kid, in my head I'm like, damn, why the hell am I? Why the hell I gotta do this? Or why am I doing push-ups? Or why is my bed gotta be made up so tight to where you can bounce a quarter off it? You don't look at those things when you're growing up. You look at yourself like, man, that kid right there, he's lucky. That kid's lucky. But what my dad was preparing me for was, to be a man. To hold all those values that holds true in the military. All the things that you need to succeed in the NFL. You got to be, hard working. You got to be disciplined. You got to sacrifice. You got to be a good teammate. The same things you need to be in the military or to be, part of an elite team or an elite group. You got to have that sacrifice, that dedication. You got to have that teamwork, that camaraderie, because you got to trust the man next to you. You got to make sure he's got your back. That's the same thing that you got to have on the football field. So I think that was very instrumental in my success. And now that I'm older, I can look back on it and I can say thank you, for that upbringing. But back then, when I was 8, 9, and 10 years old, you're like, man, what the hell am I doing? I want to play Nintendo, but I got to go out here and cut the grass in combat boots at 6 a.m. So I'm thankful for that upbringing.
I hear you.
Jason, if we jump to the current Bears, we're going to talk about the running game now, and I want to focus on Jordan Howard because people seem all over the map. Everybody here, we're all huge Jordan Howard fans. On this panel here, we think that he absolutely has a role, and everybody's out there saying, he doesn't fit the Nagy offense, and we can come back and say, well, if you're a head coach, you got to put him in a position to succeed and actually use the guy. And we thought that there was a lot of times this year where he went away from using him. But like I said, people are still out there saying that he's not a fit in this offense, and if they're going to move off of him this offseason, you see they brought Mike Davis in, all that in. But what is your take on the running game as far as Jordan Howard is concerned, and what is your outlook on Jordan moving forward with the 2019 Bears?
Yeah, I'm a Jordan Howard fan. I had the opportunity to announce that pick for the Bears during that draft. And, the pick that I got to announce was in the 5th round, and it was Jordan Howard. So I've always had like a special bond with him. Got an opportunity to meet him a bunch of times. And he's a great player. I mean, he's a back, and I always tell everybody, he's a volume back. And what that means is he gets better with carries. He gets better with the use. So he's a guy that needs, to get lathered up. He needs 15, 20 carries a game. But with the creativity that Nagy has, I mean, he's able to dial up these plays and use multiple weapons. I mean, you see you got offensive linemen catching passes and stuff like that. I mean, you can find or you can carve out a niche for a guy like Jordan Howard because, I mean, he's a back that's been successful ever since he's come in the league. And he's still young. He hasn't even hit his prime yet. So, for me to get rid of a guy like that who hasn't even really scratched the surface of how good he can be, and I think it could be a mistake for the Bears and it could, come back to bite them, in their what. I think he can have a role, especially in Chicago when, the weather's bad and, Soldier Field's all churned up and the field isn't good and the cold weather is bad. And you can lean on a guy like Jordan Howard where you can say, hey, if Mitch is having a bad day, I can look to my backfield and I got a guy who's capable of carrying the ball 20 times, and not just carrying the ball 20 times, but carrying the ball 20 times effectively. And that guy that you have is Jordan Howard. We don't know if Mike Davis can do that. I mean, he was in a backfield by committee in Seattle. But, here you have a Tariq Cohen, a guy that can do so many things. And then you have a guy that can really pound the ball in between the tackles in Jordan Howard. So, I would love to see the Bears keep him and carve out a role for him. I think that's definitely, possible. I mean, you have the coaching staff and you have the offensive mind of, Matt Nagy to be able to do that. But I think it's now a matter of, does he want to do that? And does he, like he said in his office, he doesn't see a role for him. But I think you can find a role for a guy that has the talents of Jordan Howard.
Jason, so what do you think about head coach Matt Nagy and the fact that perhaps he's not a traditionalist and like most NFL head coaches nowadays in terms of the use of power running? And what do you think about his 21st century newfangled offense where, a guy like Jordan Howard, who we all love here, Shane and Phil's written songs about the guy. We all love the guy.
Yeah.
And so what do you think about head coach Matt Nagy? Do you think he's kind of missing the boat on something here?
I just think his philosophy is today's NFL. I mean, you look at today's NFL, I mean, you got guys throwing the ball at 1st and goal. You know what I'm saying? I mean, that's today's NFL. That's today's NFL. I mean, rarely, look at across the league, rarely do you see one running back getting 15 to 20 carries. I mean, look at Todd Gurley towards the end of the season. They brought in, C.J. Anderson to take the carries away from him. Look at New Orleans Saints. They had Mark Ingram and Alvin Kamara. Even when Alvin Kamara was destroying the league in the first few weeks of the season when Mark Ingram, wasn't, when he was suspended. He comes back and they still don't ride the hot hand of Alvin Kamara. Instead, they split the carries up and get Mark Ingram back in there. That's today's NFL. I mean, do I like it? I hate it. I hate it because, I even hated, when we played and it was 3rd down and it was 3rd and 6. I knew I was coming off the field. So when he used to bring in, other receiver, he'd give me a high five to come in, and I would run right past him because I was pissed off because I had to come off the field.
Yeah.
But, Coach Nagy is he's today's NFL coach. It's about putting points on the board. And how do you do that? How do you get points on a board in a hurry? You throw the ball. Because if you look at it, the game is tailor-made for the offense to succeed. Defensively, a cornerback, you cannot touch the receiver now. If you touch a receiver after 5 yards, damn near 80% of the time it's pass interference. And coaches know that. I mean, hell, if it's 3rd and 15, you're going to throw the ball up. And there's a 50% chance that you're going to get pass interference, even if your receiver has no chance of catching the ball. I mean, those are just the percentages. Those are the numbers that these head coaches look at. So what are they going to do? You're going to get a solid quarterback. You got to get receivers that can go out there and run the entire route so you make those catches. And, you're going to put the ball in their hands. And if you have a running back that can, create a mismatch, you can split them out in the backfield. they're going to get a running back that can do everything because they're not going to lean on a running back that's just going to carry the ball in between the tackles 15 to 20 times.
Well, take me back on the field. You come out in a offset I formation, tight end flips to the other side. You guys are going to run toss. What are you as the fullback looking for, especially on the NFL level, and what's actually going to happen when number 37 gets out there?
You said on the toss play?
Yeah, on the toss. So offset. Go ahead.
Yeah, the first thing we got to do is you got to get out. And what does that mean? Get out. I got to get in my stance because I've got to get out in front because the quarterback, if he's tossing the ball to the running back, and we're trying to get out. So we're trying to outflank the defense. Mm-hmm. So my first read is the tight end. So I've got to read. First of all, I got to see what technique the defensive end is playing. If he's in a 9, which is outside shade of the tight end, well, I know that the tight end is probably going to kick him out. You know what I'm saying? If he's head up with the tight end,
yep.
If he's in like a 6, if he's head up on the tight end, well, then I know I've got to read it because the tight end can either walk him in or he can push him upfield or he can still kick him out. So my eyes have to be like a running back. So I'm a running back in this case. So I've got to read the tight end's block, and then I have to kick out the support. So the support player could either be, it could be 2 players. Most of the time it's the strong safety. But up there in what we call an under Sam look, to where the Sam is on the line of scrimmage and he's lined up outside of the tight end. Well, then now my read becomes the tight end will kick that Sam out. Then our tackle will kick out the end, and I'll throw up. My support player becomes the middle linebacker. So as a fullback, you have to read all those things. A lot of people think, oh, he's just running here and he's going to hit that guy. No, a fullback, your eyes have to be like the running back because I have to take a Thomas Jones. I have to take a Matt Forte. I have to take a Cedric Benson to where the hole is. But not only do I have to take them where the hole is, I got to make the right read, the right entry onto my block that's going to make them successful and able to get through the hole in order to get some yardage.
Well done. That's what I wanted you to take everybody on the virtual chalkboard.
Yeah, that's why I say fullback lives matter, man. It ain't keep your hand on the wall, man. We're smart guys. You got to be. We're the next offensive lineman in the backfield. That's what Olin Cruz always calls me.
There you go.
Because you're an offensive guard that can run, which is
exactly
much,
and catch. Right. In your case,
right?
Yeah. Hey, Jason, this is a little bit different question. I mean, it's going to be off the field a little bit, but one of my favorite Bears of all time had his career cut short, Johnny Knox. It was one of the most heartbreaking injuries I saw. I mean, I was sick when that happened to him. And I follow all of you guys, and then Forte and Alex Brown, and I saw, all you guys were at Hester's retirement announcement there at Hallis Hall, and just I haven't really heard how Johnny's doing, what he's doing. Is he still dealing with the injury issue that arises, and what is Johnny up to nowadays?
Yeah, we were together last night. We went to go watch LeBron James beat the mess out of the Bulls last night. But
come on,
Johnny,
man.
Johnny's one of my best friends. So we hang out quite often. Johnny's doing great. He's a father. Johnny has 4 kids. He's a great father. And Johnny's actually he coaches. He's a football coach.
Nice.
He's a wide receiver coach at Carmel High School. So now he's taking what he's learned from the game and passing it down to young men, to the young receivers over there at Carmel High School.
Is he still dealing with any ill effects from the injury?
Yeah, he has a little bit of a limp when he walks, but I mean he can walk. He can run a little bit. He's in good spirits, and he's Johnny, man. He's loving life. He's enjoying his family. He's enjoying coaching the game, and we enjoy hanging out with each other still. And it's just sad that like you said, his career was cut short. Johnny was a phenomenal player. Yeah. He's on the verge of being, arguably one of the better receivers in the league.
Came out of nowhere.
Short.
Came out of nowhere.
Yeah, and you know, I mean, he gets frustrated. Obviously, he wishes he could have, played out the rest of his career. But, I know he's thankful that he's able to, be able to walk and to be able to have the life that he has now. So, I think it's give and take for him.
One of the things that we talk about frequently here is how much we appreciate what you professional athletes, especially in the sport of football, do to sacrifice your body and your health for our entertainment. And so when a player like Adrian Amos signs a contract with the hated Green Bay Packers, we're going to overlook the fact that he is signing with a team that we despise, and we're going to take a moment to appreciate and applaud the fact that he's getting paid money that he has earned and will earn in the future. Because what you guys go through is something the average person in America and throughout the world is incapable of going through. So I'd like you to talk a little bit about just the physical aspects of this game. I saw a video of Jerome Bettis. The poor guy could hardly walk down the stairs. And what's the toll that it's taken on you personally?
It's taken a huge toll. I was that person. Like Jerome. For my last 2 years playing, I had to get a shot pretty much before every game, and that Monday after the game, and I couldn't get up the stairs. I couldn't walk down the stairs. I had to be assisted to get up and down the stairs. I couldn't bend my knee. My knee was swollen. My shoulders were hurt. My neck was aching. The fingers broken, the wrist broken, stuff like that. But this was on Monday. That's how I felt on Monday. But best believe that following Sunday, I was out on the field running around like nothing was wrong. And like you said, the fans, they don't see, what each individual player goes through during the week to make sure that he's available to play on Sunday. I mean, guys are taking painkillers, guys are taking shots. I mean, guys can barely walk, guys can barely make it through practice, but on Sunday they're running around, full speed. And with every player in this league, each and every Sunday, I mean, you're not even seeing that player perform at his best on that Sunday because that player is only about 80%, 70% of what he can be because of the injuries. And in this game, I tell a lot of the kids that I mentor now, the young kids, I say, everybody wants to be a professional. But as being a professional, doesn't matter what you're going through, what's going on at home, your girlfriend, your wife, whatever, are you sick, are you injured? On Sunday, when you put that helmet on, they expect you to go out there and play at a high level. Nobody cares if your ankle sprained during the week, you got a broken finger, broken wrist. If you can walk, you're expected to play. And that's why it's a man's game. So you got to do whatever it takes to go out there and play. So, I hated seeing Adrian Amos go to the Packers, too. I was like, no, anyone go to the Packers. Come on, man. I was pissed off, too. But at the end of the day, I was happy that he got paid because, you look at the teams, if a guy signs a 5-year contract, they cut a guy after year 3. They don't honor those remaining 2 years of his contract, he doesn't get it. Mm-hmm. So at the end of the day, I mean, the player could say, well, you signed me for 5 years, so give me the last 2 years of my contract. They're not going to give it to you. They don't honor their contract. So, a player, I mean, I know Adrian loved the Bears, and, I'm sure he was like, man, I got to go to the Packers. But if the Packers are paying him, he's got to go, where he's getting paid to go. And he's got to go secure his future, his family. He's got to go out there and get paid for putting his body on the line each and every Sunday. And you look at Johnny's case. I mean, here's a guy who, you say, wow, like, here's a guy who was on the brink of signing a huge contract because of the productivity, and then he got hurt, a career-ending injury. Johnny didn't have the opportunity to sign that big contract like some of these receivers are signing today. So that's the livelihood of the NFL. You sacrifice yourself each and every Sunday, for the game. And, for me, people ask me, would I do it again? And I tell them, in a heartbeat, because of the love of the game, the love of the sport, the competition, being able to go into battle with your brothers. I mean, there's no feeling like it.
Let me ask you, Jason, you're talking about a brotherhood and the game and the passion and injury and everything that goes along with it. But there is glory that goes with it too, the sport. That's really the ultimate goal. And besides holding Lombardi Trophy up there. What game can you remember that you had or were involved in something? You just had the best game in your professional career, or the best block that you just absolutely crushed it, and it just, gave you that feeling of glory. Do you remember that?
Yeah, it was quite a few games. I always said, for fullback, a position that doesn't get to be in the limelight or doesn't get your name in the paper or doesn't get the glory, but you're responsible for so much. You're responsible for that quarterback making a 60-yard touchdown pass because you picked up that blitzing middle linebacker. You're responsible for that running back rushing for 200 yards because you were the main guy. You were sacrificing yourself each and every time he carried the ball. My thing, I had a lot of moments like that. Obviously, NFC Championship game, the first drive we had, I think we ran the ball 10 straight times. And, running the ball down, Saints' throat. And, every block that I had, I felt like it was a great block. Thomas Jones was able to gain a significant amount of yardage. And that was another game that I liked. And another game against the Rams on Monday Night Football where I got an opportunity to catch a ball out in the flat. And, a lot of times the smaller defensive backs, they don't want to get hit, by a bigger fullback. So most of the time they try to dive and take your knees out for whatever. This particular cornerback wanted to try to hit me up high, and I got excited. And I got to lay my shoulder down and knock his helmet off, and that was on, that was on Monday Night Football, and that was, one of the highlights of Monday Night Football. So that was probably one of my favorite plays. But anytime that we ran the ball successfully, or my running back had over 100 yards, that was glory enough for me.
That's a great question by Phil and a great response by you. I got to add to that. There's so much about this game of football that happens on every individual play. There's 22 players on the field, and so there's so much that goes on. Today, I tweeted out a video clip of Ted Larson's block that helped free up, I forgot the name of the Dolphins running back for this miracle play, to just kind of show what those little things are that players do on the field that create great plays, and people just don't notice it because they're keeping an eye on the ball and so forth. My man, Draft Dr. Phil, lives out in Connecticut, and he flew in for one of the Bears games against Tampa Bay, and we saw a high school football game on Saturday. And my man Phil, he knows football back and down. He's got head coaching bloodlines, and so he was pointing out to me. He would tell me and another guest that we were with is, you look at this guy on the line, you look at this guy on the line, and you look at this guy on the line, and then after the play, we'll talk about it. And that was just so fantastic that, we were engaging in that kind of conversation. What do you, as a former football player and an analyst and somebody who talks about professional football professionally, what do you wish fans would know more about this game?
I think, fans should look at, like you said, more so the development on how a big play happens offensively. Because you look at it, like I said before, that quarterback throws the ball. Oh, it's a 60-yard pass. It's a great throw by, Mr. Trubisky. But you got to look at the line. You got to look at the checks that they made on the line. You got to look at how the defense shifted before the ball was snapped and how the offensive line adjusted when they were able to pick up the blitz, giving Mitchell a clear pocket to throw the ball to Allen Robinson down the field. Or you got to look at how, Tariq Cohen or Jordan Howard, stuck his neck in there to pick up that middle linebacker or that outside linebacker, that strong safety that was coming off the edge, or that middle linebacker that's coming down the middle. How they stuck their neck in there and executed their block, which enabled Mitch to get the ball off to Allen Robinson. Football offensively is like, I always tell everybody, it's like a watch. If you have one piece or one part of that watch that's not working, well, that watch isn't going to tick. And that's the same thing offensively. If one guy offensively doesn't do his job, or he doesn't make the right check, or he doesn't pick up the right guy in protection, well, then that play is not going to work. So it's, football is like a clock. It's poetry, especially offensively. Everybody's got to be on the same page. Everybody's got to be reading the same defense, and everybody has to do their job in order for that play to work. So I wish the fans that, hey, when you see a running back, burst for a long run, it's not just his ability. Yeah, he has ability to make the right cut, and he has the speed and the ability to break tackles and make a spectacular run. But look at all those other guys out there, out there blocking, getting to, you got the line, the guards getting to the second level, getting on that linebacker. You got that fullback leading the way, blocking his linebacker for that running back to be able to get through the hole and then make magic happen with his ability. So I think the fans need to really look at a play on how it develops offensively and defensively the same way. Look at the guys, see how those guys are making the right run fits and, making sure they're in the right cover so that way the play doesn't work. So football, it's not about guys just being big, fast, and strong. It's about guys being able to process information, being able to execute a certain play, in a second's notice, because the game moves so fast. You got to be smart and be able to adjust at the snap of the ball. And, that's why, you say football players are the best athletes in the world, but they're also some of the smartest athletes, because a lot of times you have to, be able to dissect and react at a moment's notice on the football field. And if you mess up, well, then, hey, you're going to know who messed up, and you won't be there too long.
Hey, Jason, I got two questions. I'll start with the shortest one first. Can you kick field goals by any chance? You need a field goal kicker here in Chicago?
Man, you know what? Hey, the funny thing is, I was at the Payton Center a few weeks ago, our indoor practice facility, and man, I tell you, I was trying to kick, man, because I was like, hey, y'all have some kicking tryouts, man. I might as well come out of retirement. So I was out there, and I didn't make any, man. I'll be quite honest, I didn't make any. So you
parkied them all, huh?
I didn't even hit the post. So I don't know what you guys have been so pissed off at me. Kicking man.
Oh, that's priceless.
We got that out of the way. But hey, the 2019 Bears. I want to know your confidence level in Mitch Trubisky moving forward, not just for 2019, but as the guy. And what's something that gives you pause about the way that this team is constructed moving forward?
I'm real excited. I mean, I'll start on the defensive side of the ball. I mean, you have so many defensive playmakers. I mean, I start, with the front, and, you got Akeem Hicks, and he's a beast in the middle. Obviously, Khalil Mack is a playmaker. Leonard Floyd is, can make plays and continue to grow. He's a young player. And you look at your linebackers, and you look at Roquan, Danny Trevathan. These are guys that have range and, can go side to sideline and make tackles. And I know he lost Amos, but, you still have Eddie Jackson back there. You got Kyle Fuller that just had a Pro Bowl year. And you got Prince on the other side. You got a solid defense. And yeah, we lost Big Fangio, who's a great defensive coordinator, but you bring in, another guy who's had a great run and a great track record of being a great defensive mind as well. So I don't think the defense will miss a beat. And then offensively, you've got a lot of playmakers as well. You look at Tariq, you look at Mitch. He's only going to get better. This is his second year in this offense, so he's going to be more comfortable, which enables him to make more plays. You got Allen Robinson, you got Taylor Gabriel, you bring in Cordell Patterson, and you got guys that are athletes that can make plays. So, I took my hat to Ryan Pace, and Matt Nagy's a hell of a coach, and they got a great staff, and I think they're going to keep getting better. They're going to keep adding pieces, and we'll see what they add via the draft, but they're going to keep getting better, and, the Bears, they're not a secret anymore. They're going to be probably the top team coming in this year, the NFC North, and I look forward to them kicking the Packers' ass again.
Hey, you used the word process in the previous question that we had for you, and it sparked a thought in my mind. Shane, the smartest man in the bar room here, is always talking about Mitch Trubisky and that the number one thing that he needs to fix is his footwork moving forward so that he can be more accurate. I will add to that I think that Mitch is still having problems with the processing part of being a quarterback, meaning, just processing, where's your primary receiver, where's your secondary receiver, those guys are covered, and so forth. Can you talk a little bit about that, share your opinion?
Yeah, I agree. You look at it, he, went from having a whole completely different offense. So now you've got a whole new offense. A head coach that has different philosophies, like to run things differently. And I know Coach Nagy's offense is pretty complex. So now he's got to learn where all his chess pieces are, and be able to deliver the ball accurately and precisely to these guys. So I think with him, it was a learning process, being comfortable with the play being called, and like you said, being able to anticipate, reading coverage, anticipate where the ball is going to be going based upon his pre-snap read, which is going to make him, a better quarterback. And I think, having that second year in the system is going to bring about a whole new level of comfortability to where he can go out there, and now he's not thinking, now he can just go out there and play, as opposed to last year he was thinking, making sure he made the right call, the right check. Now he's seen it, he knows it, he knows where he wants to go with the ball. Now he can go out there and use his tools, use his athleticism, use his arm. They made him such a high draft pick, and I think he'll take that next step.
Jason, I'm not sure how much time you have available. I know that Thomas Jones, the first time he came on, he said, I can come on for 20 minutes. He was here for 2 hours.
Yeah, that's my guy, man. Thomas is a great dude.
So you let us know when you need to get off, and I'll turn over the next question to Phil.
Yeah, Jason.
Okay, I got a couple more. We're fine, man.
Excellent, thank you.
Jason, Aldo brought up Thomas Jones, but I don't want to put any pressure on you keeping it 100. Who was the best back that you ever blocked for?
Man, I get that question asked all the time, and the funny thing is, if I'm around Thomas, I say Thomas. You know what I mean? Oh yeah, Thomas is my favorite running back. But, if I'm around Matt, yeah, Matt was my favorite running back. I love blocking for Matt. Honestly, I don't have a favorite. I mean, there's some great backs. I mean, everybody talks about Thomas and Forte, but I mean, you look at the other backs. I mean, we had Adrian Peterson was a monster. I mean, Cedric was good as well. I mean, I was blessed to have some good backs behind me. And you'd always say, hey, they made me look good. They made me look good. So,
Jason, how is your son? I see he's playing some college ball. You want to speak on him a little bit? Give him a little bit of pub here for the Jason McKie fans.
Yeah, my son is a cornerback for Northern Illinois University, Jalen McKie. He's doing well. He's actually here now. He's on spring break.
Nice.
But he's doing good. He plays cornerback, and he was a redshirt freshman last year. He led the team in interceptions. He had a week where he had 2 interceptions in a game. He got MAC Defensive Player of the Week. So this season he's slated to start. He's excited about it. So, awesome. He's been here on spring break working with me. Been working him out. No partying, all business. And I'm just excited that not that he has the opportunity to play football, but I'm excited that he's in college. His grades are well. That's the main thing that I focus on in his grades. And his grades are good, and football is secondary for me. He's been playing well. He's been putting in the work, and I'm just looking forward to see how far it'll take him.
Would you have him wearing combat boots?
So he's heading into his sophomore year, so he'll be coming out right when Buster Screen's contract's getting up, so he can come right in and play nickel for us here in Chicago.
Yeah, man, either Chicago or I hate to say it, the Colts. I was at the combine. A couple weeks ago, and I got to speak with Chris Ballard, who was the Colts GM, and that's the first thing he said. He said, "Hey, I was at Northern and I watched your son play." And I was
nice.
Like, "Man," I said, "Hey," "We'll be ready,
Nice.
man. I'm his agent. We'll be ready." So.
Yeah, we got a lot of.
Take any of the 32.
Really?
All right.
Let me ask you this. When you assess fullbacks, as a fullback yourself, there's a kind of brotherhood. You mentioned if fullbacks are football players too. And I know the position is kind of dwindling in retrospect, but history tells us that soon it's going to come back. Football always repeats itself. In fact, me and my father were in Canton, Ohio, watching Sid Luckman play on the screens there, and they're running bubble screens and quick screens back in 1942. And it just showed you now it's come full circle and it's being used in the NFL. That being said, the fullback position, in your analysis, who are some of the best that you saw ever do it? And take us back to your time. Who was the most difficult player that you had to go up against?
During my time, some of the better fullbacks, I used to like Lorenzo Neal was a huge fan of Lorenzo Neal.
Yep.
He was a great fullback. Larry Centers used to play for Arizona Cardinals, was a great fullback, especially coming out of the backfield. And I always tried to pattern my game as a little mixture of both. Both. Lorenzo Neal was a dominant blocker, and Larry Centers was a guy that could catch the ball. So I wanted to be able to do everything. I tried to do everything well. I tried to block well, be able to pick up blitzes well, and be able to come out the backfield if necessary and catch the ball. I just wanted to be a well-rounded player and not just labeled as one-dimensional, as all I can do is block or all I can do is this. Wanted to try to be versatile.
Right.
Some of the hardest guys I had to go against. It's not really one guy. We played against some really good defenses in the NFC North when we were around. I mean, Minnesota always had a great defense. Already had a great defensive line, great linebackers. They were always tough to go against. I loved going against the Packers because of the rivalry. So going against like those guys like A.J. Hawk and all those guys was great going against those guys because we knew how much the rivalry meant. We wanted to have those bragging rights throughout the season. So those are great rivalries as well. I got to go against Derek Brooks when he played for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, a guy who, us being from the same hometown, I got to grow up watching him, in high school and then in college at Florida State, and him having so much success in the NFL, and being able to play against him was definitely an honor. So those are some of the guys who, it was good going against.
Jason, by my count, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, now with you, our fifth player from the 2006 Super Bowl Chicago Bears team, and we're working, and let me go through them. Olin Kreutz, Thomas Jones, Alex Brown, Israel Adonijah, they've all made appearances on Bears Barroom Radio, and we've got commitments from Desmond Clark, Thomas Harris. On my personal wish list, I'd love to have Wally, Hunter, and Peanut on. If we get all these guys on, I want to do a reunion show here at Bears Barroom Radio. We get all of you guys on.
I like it, man.
Shane, Phil, and I will turn off our mics and we just listen to you guys rap for an hour. So that would be awesome.
Yeah, that'd be made for TV, man. They turn out to rap.
I hear you.
Whenever we get together, man, it's always some stories and laughter and cussing and all kinds of stuff.
Hey, I gotta
That's
tell you,
what we do on this show. I gotta ask you.
Go ahead,
Does
Phil.
Tommy Harris pick up the phone when you call?
You said, will he pick up the phone?
Yeah, because we've called him here. We had it all set up.
Twice.
Twice. And Tommy just doesn't pick up, and we're hurt by it. So
to be fair, he did take.
You could be the middleman.
Yeah, I don't know whether Tommy is a busy guy, man.
No, he's a great guy. And
He's a good guy, man. He's a great guy, though. I'm surprised.
And to be fair, he did text us back and apologize. So there's no. But I got to tell you a real quick story here. We had a fantasy football draft that the Chicago Bears, and I think it was the Chicago Tribune, hosted at Soldier Field, and Alex Brown was there. And we get there at 11 o'clock in the morning, and Alex comes over to us to greet us and shake our hands and talk and so forth. And he's got in his hand, I don't know what it was. Maybe it was Maker's Mark or maybe it was some other great Kentucky bourbon and stuff. But he was very, very sharing with news about the Bears team and so forth. And then we saw him again because the whole fantasy football draft. We were then able to go into a suite and hold our draft there. And then he visited all the suites. And by the time he came to us, that bourbon was really doing the trick, man. And what a great guy, and he must have been a fabulous teammate, and he's a great broadcaster now, as you are. I just wanted to share that with you because that team was just full of great characters.
Yeah, the funny thing is, me, Alex Brown, and Adrian Peterson, we actually own a performance facility training and mentoring kids. We own it together. So it's the locker room with me, Alex, and Adrian all the time. Yeah, so I see Alex every time. We have a good time, but the good thing is we have a good time being able to train, mentor, and pass on knowledge to young athletes, trying to achieve the same goal that we did, but not only on the football field. We have athletes that play soccer, basketball, all kinds of stuff. So it's a good time. Alex is a great guy.
Tell us a little bit about the Jason McKie Foundation.
Yeah, so the Jason McKie Foundation benefits military families in emergency need. I started the Jason McKie Foundation because of my father, first and foremost. But a lot of my high school teammates who I grew up with, I went on to play football. They went on into the military, and a lot of them served overseas and did tours in Iraq. And I always said when I had, somewhat of a platform to give back, I wanted to give back to something that was close to me, something that helped me, reach that platform, reach that pinnacle of playing in NFL, and that was, the military. And like I said earlier, without having that military upbringing and, having those military values instilled in me by my father, I wouldn't have been able to play it down in the military, in the NFL. So that's why, whenever I have opportunity to get back to military families and emergency needs, and that being, paying light bills, paying medical bills. This past year we gave a Marine veteran, we gave her, she was a single mother of 4 kids. My foundation was able to provide and purchase a van for her and her kids. So anytime that I'm able to do things like that, it's always a win.
You played with a guy that just went into the Hall of Fame, Brian Urlacher. You're a fullback. You got to go live drills and go after these guys and give them a look of what's, coming at them in the NFL. How hard did you go at him, and what was it like going up against that guy?
Yeah, it was great. I mean, we got to go. Our defense, we got to go up against them quite a bit, especially in training camp. I think Lovey did a great job of letting us, of trying to make practice safe, but making it more so like a game atmosphere, especially during training camp. So we had times to where every day we had a live part of practice. So whether it was goal line, whether it was coming out, whether it was red zone, whether it was backed up, you'd always have a time in practice that was scripted that would be live. So the live and goal line was always firecrackers because, you get in that locker room, you wanted to have the bragging rights on who won that day, who seized the day. The defense won, they would come in talking trash, and we won, we come in saying we kicked y'all's ass. You know what I mean? So
Right.
It made us better, man. Have an opportunity to go against, Brian, first and foremost, a Hall of Famer, obviously, tremendous middle linebacker. He made me better, so I made him better. And, having a chance to go up against, Lance Briggs, who hopefully will be a future Hall of Famer. And we all made each other better. And that was the thing, Brian, I remember Brian and Lance would tell me things, hey, if this linebanker's, lined up here, this is what he's thinking. And I was able to tell them things that fullbacks would try to do or how they were trying to block him. Those things made us better, as individuals, but it made us better as a team as well. So it was a great opportunity and a blessing to go against those guys in practice.
Shane, a final question for McKie?
No, I was just going to say it's not really a question, just more of a statement to go back to Johnny Knox. I really appreciate the update, Jason, and I think a lot of times the way that Twitter can get crazy and just fans in general can get crazy and switch allegiances so quick if a player goes away from their favorite team like we're dealing with Adrian Amos right now. But a guy like Johnny, I think, it's always good to look back at a guy like that, career cut short, and just with you having access to him, really appreciate it. You just give him all of our best from here at the Barroom and let him know that he's still got a lot of fans out there.
Excellent.
I definitely will, man. It'll mean a lot to him. He loves it when the fans, acknowledge him and thank him for his time. It means the world to him. So I'll definitely tell him, man. He'll be thrilled.
Great. Hey, Jason, before we let you go, we ask our guests to do two things. If you can do a station ID for us, if you can say, hi, I'm Jason McKie, whatever you want to add, and you're listening to Bears Barroom Radio, that would be awesome. Actually, if you could say, instead of the network name, if you could say you're listening to Bears 100 Proof, that would be nice, and we'll use that as an open for one of our shows.
Okay, sounds good. This is Jason McKie, former Chicago Bears fullback, and you're listening to Bears 100 Proof.
Nice.
Look at that.
One take. It took Akeem Hicks 3 takes, but don't tell him that we told you that.
I'm not surprised, man. He's just a dumb defensive lineman, man. Offensive guys, we're the smart guys, man. They don't take us a look. They don't have no plays to remember. We got like types of stuff.
That's hilarious. Hey, Jason, before you go, tell us your Twitter handle and anything else that you want our listeners to know about you. But also, I got a really quick question. Have you ever thought about writing a book? Because you're so articulate with all of your thoughts, and you've got so many great stories. I mean, really, we could sit here and talk for another 3 hours, and I would not be bored at all. You ever thought about writing a book and sharing your stories?
Hey, I might have to do that, man. I might have to. Never thought about it, but I might have to do that, man. That's a good idea.
We got a writer here at the Barroom, Jason.
I was just thinking it when he said it.
Hey, some of my guys might be mad about me telling everything, but hey, if the book does well, I'll give them a cut.
There you go. Well, we'll be reaching out to you and to come on the podcast again, and also to talk a little bit about your autobiography. But before you go, please let everybody know where they can follow you on Twitter or anything else you want to share.
Yeah, you can follow me. I'm on Twitter at JMack. That's JMACK. The number 37. Go ahead and tweet me. I try to always tweet back and interact with all the Bears fans, man. And I always say, man, the Bears fans, there's no fans like you guys in the NFL. And it's just an honor to be able to play here in front of you guys in Chicago for a long time. And I love hearing from the fans, love interacting with you guys. And, I love the Chicago Bears organization. I love its fans. So without you guys, there's no us. So thank you.
There you go. It is a great Twitter follow. I got to tell you, this guy, he posts some great stuff. Like right now I'm looking at, he retweeted with the 2019 Browns offense, and it is pretty impressive. Mayfield, Hunt, Chubb, Duke Johnson in the backfield, Odell Beckham, Jarvis Landry. But the hell with the Browns. We're going to talk more Bears football. Again, Jason, thank you for being on, and we'll be in touch. Okay, brother?
Thanks, guys. Great show. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Jason.
Thanks, Jason.
Charles Tillman, Hall of Fame.
I agree, man. You guys take care, man. You guys are awesome, man.
Thank you,
Thanks,
brother.
Jason.
Thank you, Jay. What a good guy, man.
It gets to get better and better. These guys, I'm serious.
I'm serious.
It's awesome.
I'm sorry that I talk more than I usually do.
No.
But I just was kind of hyped up. I was really looking forward to talking to Jason because he did a show. We should have asked him about our buddy Lawrence Holmes.
I was just going to ask him.
I'm sorry.
I never even thought of that.
I thought maybe you skipped town on that one.
I'm sorry. I apologize. But I was just so hyped up. What I wanted to ask him was, and Shane pointed this out to me, that Lawrence Holmes on another podcast talked about his kind of anger management issue.
It was his own podcast.
His own podcast, and he talked about his anger management issue. And I just wanted to get learn from Jason if Lawrence Holmes ever came at him.
Yeah, he talked. It was the Mark Grody episode.
Oh, I gotta go back and listen to that. I haven't done that.
Yeah, because he would, Grody. I mean, probably easily, other than the stuff that we put out, was one of the best appearances on another podcast that I've listened to ever. He was funny. I mean, open, honest, raw. I mean, there was stuff about Grody I never even knew, and he was just open and upfront about it. And Lawrence just came out and he goes, because Grody was talking about battling alcoholism, being an alcoholic and it ruining relationships and parts of his life. And Lawrence just brought up that he's got a very short temper span,
Mm-hmm.
and it's been something that he's had to work on. And he said that it almost cost him a job because he went at his boss at the Score. And I forget I think, Aldo, when you and I were talking about it, I gave you the guy's name that saved him. He said he was the big guy there from the Score.
Yeah.
Jason, is it Jason something?
Goff.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Picked him up and essentially threw Lawrence Holmes over his shoulder and took him out took him out the exit, and really he had to thank him because he said it essentially saved his job.
Wow. Well, hopefully we'll have McKie back, and we'll get, McKie said that he's got some great stories to share in his autobiography. Yeah. So maybe we'll get some more out of him. There's a lot more to talk about with Jason McKie. He was a great
Once
guest.
you hit the Z chapter with North, it sounds like you're going to the McKie chapter next, right?
Wouldn't that be cool? Oh my God. Hey guys, I want to get on to tweets and then talk about a little topic that we have, but man, oh man, I had 3-4 cups of coffee. Now I've been drinking beer. I got to go take a piss, fellas.
I had to bounce in the middle of the interview real quick because
I saw you.
I can't even get this fucking Apple ID. That's what I've been working on the fucking side.
My phone's working fine.
I know, it's fucking killing me, guys.
That's one of the reasons I jumped in.
Retry recovery. Who do you talk to do this? They want me to go into my email, but it's got to go through the phone to get to the email, but I don't have the phone. I'm like...
Don't you have an iPad?
I do, but it's
not... You talk to him about that. I'll be right back.
Yeah, how do I get this? I got to go find my iPad now?
Don't you have a desktop or a laptop?
I'm on the laptop right here. It won't let me go through there. It keeps saying, enter your trusted number to continue.
Yeah, that's your phone number.
Yeah, but I can't access it.
You don't know your phone number?
I do, but the phone's dead at this spot. It won't text a password to me, right?
No. You have to put in your trusted number. You have to type into your desktop. That should be your phone number.
Yeah, I've done this. Enter your trusted number. That's all I'll say.
764 6666.
I can't believe I did this, Shane.
Yeah, I don't know what the fuck you're thinking.
Unlock with the phone number, I can't. Use another device. Can't use a device or trusted phone number?
I don't know, bro.
Use another device. Am I gonna have to call?
And it sounds like it. I've never had that happen.
A message with instructions has been sent to all of your devices where you are signed into iCloud. I'm signed in right here, but it's not. Where would the message come up?
Your email.
No, it doesn't.
Well, if you're still having problems, I can talk to my brother. He used to work for Apple, and that was his job, dealing with shit like this. I'm not my brother. My brother's a fucking drunk, but that's a different story. His son, my nephew, used to work with Apple, and that was his job, 8 hours a day, answering questions. He told me he hated that job. People would call, and he would say, "Okay, power on your phone." How do I do that?
Oh my God, I can only imagine.
Sounds like it's right up Phil's alley.
I'm calling up what is it, My Apple. I'm going to have to fucking do that.
All right, let's get back to this. Hey, before we get to tweets, I was actually going to play this for Jason, but I thought maybe I should just save it for you two guys. Mike Ditka was on some show, I think it was 8:90 a.m. here on WLS, and some guy, who is this guy? Eddie Barstool or somebody like that. The fuck's his name? Is that his name? Yeah, Eddie Barstool, at Eddie Barstool. He posted this audio, so the quality is bad, but it was somebody from 890 WLS asking Mike Ditka about what he thinks of Robert Kraft getting a hand job. So,
oh, jeez.
Yeah, exactly. Here it goes.
What do you make of all this controversy over Robert Kraft? He went to get a handy at a massage parlor. Coach, do you think that's any big deal?
Well, the media does. I don't.
The guy, he was married for almost 50 years. His wife passed away. He went to a massage parlor, and the woman, finished him off. She gave him a happy ending. This is the owner of the Patriots, and they're acting like this guy's the devil. What do you think? You don't think so, Coach?
I love Bob Kraft. I think he's one of the best owners in the league. And God bless him. If his wife passed away and somebody wants to give him a hand job, God bless him.
He was married 48 years, Coach. What do they want from the guy?
I understand that. Hey, listen, he's a good man. And he's done more for the game than most people in the game. And he's done more. What a great franchise they put together up in Boston. Yeah, New England. We believe me. That was a team we beat in the Super Bowl. Remember?
Yeah,
we beat. They've done pretty well since, haven't they?
That's that coach. I love that. That sounded like Bubba the Love Sponge, right, Shane?
Hey, that guy sounded a little healthier than Bubba does. I'm not gonna lie.
Is Bubba still on the air?
Well, he's not on Sirius. Yeah, he's down in Tampa.
Okay.
I don't know, but he's got like 3-4 lawsuits.
Oh yeah,
like against the FCC.
Yeah. The Hulk,
so I don't know if they
Hulk Hogan thing too, right?
Oh
yeah, and they're actually doing a movie.
Oh really?
Yeah, about a movie, but I guess they're not gonna address the Hogan.
Oh really?
Thing with his wife, yeah.
That's the fucking big story.
Right,
exactly.
Right.
For our listeners who are not aware, Bubba the Love Sponge is a radio DJ. I think he was down south in Florida, and he worked for the Howard Stern radio network for a while. And he apparently videotaped Hulk Hogan having sex with his wife, and then allegedly released the video, and all sorts of lawsuits commenced and criminal action. I don't know what the fuck. But that was a pretty fucking wild. Bubba the Love Sponge. Holy shit.
Bubba. Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Does anybody out there have my password?
He's the smartest man. He sparks with emotion, passion. Was pissed that Amos went to the Packers. So we had Amos on the show when he was a fucking Bear. Don't get it twisted or ass backwards. He's the smartest man, and this is the dumbest tweet of the week.
Well done, Draft Doctor Phil. If this is the first time you're listening to Tweets of the Week, then where the fuck have you been? This is where Shane, the smartest man in the barroom, takes about 30-40 seconds of his time and scours the internet looking for tweets that are both good and bad. And I got a feeling that he's going to have multiple bad ones this week because, my God, I've seen quite a few that I was like, what the fuck is this guy smoking?
Welcome to the Peter Bukowski moment of the show, ladies and gentlemen.
Well done. Take it away.
Well, we'll get things kicked off here with somebody that made an appearance last week on these, believe it or not, and that's Robert Zaglinski at Robert Zaglinski.
I'm shocked.
Somebody that covers the Chicago Bears in the NFL and gets paid to do it. He decided to send out a tweet the day before the tampering period opened up and said, these key NFL offseason dates are spread out far too much. All of this acquisition bullshit, quote unquote, free agency and the draft, should be dead after March until training camp.
Can't take this seriously. The rain is covering my theaters.
So Robert's complaining about having to cover the NFL because they dragged the draft out until April. I mean, the NFL really wants to get away from being 24/7, 365, right?
Yeah. Oh my God.
And we're gonna wedge everything in here together, Robert, so you can get a couple weeks off, so you can play Dungeons and Dragons in your mom's basement.
I am convinced that Robert Zaglinski sits at home conjuring up tweets to try to get on this segment of the show.
He must. He's doing a good fucking job.
Well done, Robert. Congratulations.
So, yeah, number 2, Justice Mosqueda. I don't know if he's a guy I follow on Twitter. It's at Jew Mosk. He's been on Locked On Bears with Lauren Cox a couple of times, and he's a guy that a lot of people respect on Twitter and look into for his knowledge of football. But he sent out a tweet, and he said, "Oh, man, we have so many years left for Bears fans convincing themselves that Trubisky is actually the answer." By the way, he's a Packers fan, and that's a true story. So
really?
we'll just throw that out there.
Oh, my God. That's a good one. That's a good one.
Jesus Christ.
All right, I have so many of them. I tried to get these in order here because I have so many screenshots on my phone. So,
okay.
All right, Mr. Oh, God. Fucking Bukowski. Sorry. So, yeah, everybody's seen Peter Bukowski lately here on Twitter, at Peter_Bukowski. He does Locked On Packers for the Locked On Network, and he is also a rabid Green Bay Packers fan.
Oh, yeah.
You know, so I'm just going to swing by a couple of these tweets that he's been sending out real rapid-fire style. If you're cool with turning 4 top 10 picks into 0 blue chip players and 7 top 50 picks into 3 good players, then Ryan Pace is your guy. If you're cool with Mike Lennon at $45 million and then trading up for the 3rd best quarterback in the class, then Ryan Pace is your guy. Anytime you give the 3rd string tight end a 4-year, $32 million deal to be the 3rd most productive tight end in the NFC North, and then do that only a year after you use the 45th pick in the draft on another tight end, you have to do it. Ryan Pace may be your guy. Ryan Pace gave Allen Robinson 3 years, $42 million, and he rewarded his genius GM with an absolute monster 55-catch, 754-yard season. Everybody please stand up and applaud to Mr. Pace.
Someone please spell this word for me.
Imbecile.
So here's a little blowback for Mr. Bukowski that we had to go through the interwebs and search Twitter a little bit to see if he is a fraud or not, and likes to double speak a little bit. So Mr. Bukowski at 11:51 a.m. sent out a tweet. This was on October 10th, 2018. Every Packers fan that's annoyed or worried or whatever with what they think Clinton Dix said should go actually read the piece. He didn't say, "I'm out." He said he's treating this season as an interview. Every single player in the NFL should treat every single season that way. Okay, so that was on October 10th. On October 30th, this is what Peter Bukowski wrote about Clinton Dix. Let's be very clear so there's no rewriting history on this. Clinton Dix was maddeningly inconsistent player who has one good season. He never took the leadership role this team wanted. He publicly groaned about that leadership and then said, "I'm out," on the record this season. So it only took him 20 days to defend the "I'm out" and then completely turn around and throw him under the bus with what he said.
Yeah, you must have been at the top of your fucking class.
Yeah. Here's another one for Peter Bukowski to show you his NFL intellect. And this is from August 10th, 2017. The early returns on the Packers defense, Nick Perry and Clinton Dix are legit studs.
You're talking about Nick Perry, the guy that was just released by the Green Bay Packers?
Yes, and Clinton Dix, the guy that they traded.
That's right. They wanted to get a 4th-round draft pick so badly from him.
And the last one from Peter, The Matt Nagy hire and the Khalil Mack trade were very good. Beyond that, Ryan Pace's resume is extremely shaky.
Everybody put your hands in the air.
I don't know why, but go ahead and put your hands in here. Listen, here's a testament to this Peter Bukowski and the type of person that he is. I get, and I apologize to John Buffon that I'm going to reveal something that he sent me privately. But you and I know, you being Shane and you being Phil, you and I know that John Buffon probably was an altar boy, or let me start over. Altar boy might not be the best thing. John Buffon is one of the most honest, legitimate people in the world. This guy, he could forgive anybody for anything. He sends me a DM saying, "Hey, just was thinking, if don't ever bring Peter Bukowski onto my show because the guy is just a troll." And I go, "Absolutely, John. Don't worry, we will never book this guy." It's just that Bukowski is not only he's purposely trying to troll people, and that ain't right. So
yeah, he was on Lauren's show before the Bears locked up the division against the Green Bay Packers, and his theory was that if you break down the Chicago Bears roster and compare it to the Green Bay Packers roster, they're essentially the same. The only thing that separates the Bears is coaching. So that right there tells you all you need to know.
All right. So he was upset with Mike McCarthy, the guy that took that team to the Super Bowl, who made Aaron Rodgers who he is because he changed all of Aaron Rodgers' mechanics. So he was just upset by that. Now, I don't disagree that it was time to move on from Mike McCarthy, but that lack of respect for his coach, I think, speaks to Peter Bukowski. All right. Are you done with all those bad tweets? Because
yes, and Peter Bukowski and Man Bun, ex-Man Bun, you guys are locking up these tweets, shitty tweets of the week.
That's right. You guys are going to have the Congress look into your monopoly.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Hey, Aldo, my phone's working fine. How about yours? Yeah.
Mine's working fine.
Don't get bad.
He once created the twist. He taught chubby checkers to have stamina. Fuck them all the haters. And of course, blame Canada. The smartest man, and this is his best tweet of the week.
I'm going to go tell Michael.
This is where we turn the tables. We go from the bad to the good. Shane, what do you got?
Well, this is NFL free agency in a nutshell, Aldo. I think I shared this screenshot with you because I got a big kick about it. Kick out of it. But this is NFL Draft Diamonds, and it's at Draft Diamonds. They're actually a really good follow on Twitter.
They are.
If you want to follow them along, especially on draft day, this guy, I don't know how he does it. He gets all the picks before they're on TV. I mean, very early before anybody else. He sent out a tweet because he's a huge Buffalo Bills fan. He sent out a tweet on the morning that the legal tampering period with the stupid name opened, and he said, if the tampering period opens and the Buffalo Bills' first signing is Frank Gore, there's no way that they're serious about football. Fast forward 5 hours later, breaking news on ESPN, the Bills will sign veteran running back Frank Gore to a 1-year, $2 million deal. Well, NFL Draft Diamonds quote tweeted that, and all they wrote on the quote portion of it was hashtag Frank Gore, steal of free agency.
Hell no.
Oh, hell yeah. That's a good one. What else you got, brother?
Well, I think everybody at this point knows Andy Benoit. I always thought his name was Benoit.
Oh, me too.
Yeah, it's Benoit, which sounds even more ridiculous, which fits him. I'm sure everybody saw after Adrian Amos signed in Green Bay, he sent out a tweet, said that he had been reviewing game tape, and he reviewed the Miami game, And everybody here knows that Eddie Jackson didn't have his best game down in Miami. And Benoit's summary from that game was that from that game alone, there's no way that Eddie Jackson deserved to be an All-Pro. So he decided to tweet that out. And I wanted to lend some legitimacy here to Benoit's football acumen again. He sent out a tweet on June 5th of 2017 after he was reviewing teams' NFL draft picks, and he said, "I just find this such a curious move for the Chicago Bears. They drafted another running back in round 4, small running back Tariq Cohen, when they already had Jeremy Langford and Kadeem Carey on the roster."
Shane, I thought we were supposed to be on the good tweets.
Well, it is. It's so good, or it's so bad. It's good because it's exposing this guy.
Surprise, motherfucker!
Oh, I see. I get it now. Well, I'm glad that you do because I actually read this guy maybe a couple of years ago, and I read a couple of articles, and I said to myself, this guy is pretty smart, man. He's breaking some stuff down here that makes sense to me. And then I talked about him on the old Bears Barroom radio show, and you guys were like laughing at me saying, Andy Benoit. Yeah, right. And you guys were right. The guy doesn't know shit.
I think he's another one of those guys that's got a hard on for the Bears because whenever, like Evans, Silva, all these guys, Lock and Foro, whenever there's a tweet, They can actually praise the Bears in a sense. They'll say, Chicago played well last night, but Trubisky's still their quarterback, and they're never going to go anywhere with him. That's the way that they always, end their sentences. So he's just another one in the long line of inept assholes that likes to chime in on the Bears. So Andy Benoit, you are my best tweet of the week.
Are you sure about that?
Yes, Shane is sure about that. All right, before we get to shout-outs, Shane has to be on the road here really, really early, so we're not going to do our typical 3, 4, 5, 6-hour show. I want to address a situation that has been populating Twitter and came into my timeline. I got into a fight with Georgie on Twitter about this, and I was like, what the fuck is going on here? There has been accusations about somebody on the team doing burner accounts, and the Bears Barroom and our brand got dragged into this, and I want to make sure that this thing is cleared up. Myself, Bears Barroom, the account that I manage, have never participated in any issue with burner accounts or something like that. We've always kept it on the up and up. Now, have there been situations where members of our team have engaged in that kind of behavior? I was made aware of that a couple of years ago, and I addressed it with the Barflies. And I addressed it with Phil and Shane and the other key members of the team, saying that this is unacceptable. We can't do this. We can't come on here and preach total honesty and get into that. And I said, I don't want any confessions. I don't want fucking any denials. I don't want to engage in conversation. All I want is for this kind of behavior, if you're involved in it, stop. If you know somebody that represents the Barroom, whether it's a person on the staff or one of the Barflies, you tell them to stop. I don't want to engage in the fucking drama. You tell them to stop and we move on. And so over time, I heard stories and stuff, and I talked to Phil directly about it, and Shane talked to Phil directly about it. To the best of my knowledge, it hasn't happened in a year or two or however long. And again, I'm not here to look for a fucking confession. I want to focus on what we do, which is to inform, entertain, engage Chicago Bears sports fans, anybody interested in our brand of entertainment. I want to engage them and have fun And maybe somewhere down the line we make a penny doing this. But I don't want to be involved in any fucking drama. I'm not going to engage people in this discussion. I want to put an end to this. You guys want? We've got plenty of haters out there. If they want to nitpick this and look into it and do forensic investigations into that stuff, feel free. Go right ahead. But I'm not going to participate in that because I have faith that behavior has stopped, hasn't happened in a long time. And I have trust. I have trust in my man, Phil Atoshin, and I have trust in everybody else in the organization. If I find out, that shit is persists, everybody knows my fucking temper. I won't be happy about it. Frankly, this is it. I really don't want to talk about it much more. But you guys might want to add something. Phil and Shane, if you do, feel free. I would never, ever think of censoring you if you want to share something. But, if we want to move to shout-outs, we can do so.
Listen, I got something to add. Just keeping it 100. I'm embarrassed by this, so it's kind of been something balled up inside because all of the recent attacks and all this crap and people threatening and all of this shit. And I'm not going to get into any details, but back in the day when I first started Twitter and you're getting recognized or you're just dealing with stuff with a new avenue, you're immature. And I was, and me and a few others involved in having these burner accounts. We were young and stupid. I'm embarrassed by it. But I apologize to Shane and Aldo. I apologize to my followers. Most of all, I apologize to my family. When I looked at this, getting to this level, I'm like, listen, this has got to stop. We keep it 100 here. This was way back when. Now people are bringing it up to attack Barroom. It's ridiculous. I really am sorry. And, people have asked, so I just wanted to keep it 100. It was wrong. I apologize. Move forward. I don't move back. And thanks for giving me the opportunity to say this, Aldo, as always. And Shane.
Now, before we move on, I got to ask Shane if he has anything to confess, because I have noticed that your tits are getting a little bigger.
I've been taking some what's that called? Bust moss?
Estrogen?
Yeah. Estrogen.
Yeah, all of a sudden you have less facial hair. You're starting to look pretty good, man.
Yeah, jeez, I know. It's crazy. It's crazy how that.
Shady, I mean, seriously, you have anything further to add? Because I do have one confession to make. My wife is going to be really upset with me. Go ahead.
It's over and done with. Phil said his piece, and it is what it is. And Phil was man enough to come out here and speak his truth, and that's, you respect it and move on. Nobody's free from fucking up in this world. Everybody's done it, and not a lot of people own up to it. So we close the book and we move on.
Great. I just want to add a fucking button to this, and hopefully we never talk about this shit again. I really don't have a confession, just to make that clear. Not.
That's all worked up.
But here's what I want to say. I have someone. It is sort of a confession. I'm gonna do a little tell-all here. I had someone who suspected something was going on, and said to me, well, "How can you fucking, be friends with?" And I said, "Well, first of all, I don't have any fucking proof. Secondly, this is my brother. This is my friend. This is a guy who works 40 plus hours a week for Bears Barroom. He created this Bears Barroom along with Shane and myself. He's worked his ass off. He has as many faults as I do. I love this guy. And I have tolerance for anyone that makes mistakes. I grew up going to Catholic school, and that's something that Jesus Christ taught me, is that you forgive. You have tolerance for people who have made mistakes, and you move on. So when anybody, and if anybody in the future comes to me and says, no, fuck you, I'm sorry. This is my brother. I hope to see him again this summer. We've talked about his family coming over to my house, and hopefully Shane's family can join us. I'm going to give him a hug that's so fucking hard and tight. And I'm going to feel that big 8-inch cock of his again.
Doesn't sound gay at all.
So I don't want to fucking talk about Phil's cock anymore or any of the bullshit we've been talking about. All I know is it is time for shout-outs.
Surprise, motherfucker.
Somebody say cocks.
All right. Let me see if I got some music here for shout-outs. All right, I got to tell you one thing before we officially... I got to tell you another thing. Can you tell I've had a couple beers tonight? This has been one of the fucking best shows of all time, because that interview with Jason McKie is another Bears Barroom 100 Proof classic. You know what? We didn't even talk about Buster's.
Ooh.
But it's 11 o'clock here in Chicago at midnight. We'll save that. In fact, tomorrow on Buffon 55, Danny Shimon and John Buffon are going to talk about all these particulars. There's no drama with those fucking two guys. I got to fucking make up stories about them to get people interested in seeing the show. But really, the truth. I'm very proud of this show, and I'm very proud of Phil for his honesty. I'm very proud of Shane for his counsel throughout this. And it's time to move on. It's time to do shout-outs. Shane, we always start with you. What do you got?
I'm going to just go back to our interview a little bit and shout out Johnny Knox. It's just a guy that I've been thinking a lot about. I literally drove back from Connecticut, left at 5 o'clock in the morning the day that the Chicago Bears played Seattle that day, just so I could get back in time for the game. Sat down and watched it, and then right there towards the end, he got folded up like that. And it was, like I said to Jason McKie, it was one of the worst injuries that I had ever seen live. It just literally brought me to my knees. And when you have people on Twitter, saying that you're a moron or a piece of shit because you're adding a human element to these players, with Adrian Amos going to Green Bay. Well, no, you're the fucking moron. You're the fucking scumbag piece of shit that forgets about the human element. These end of the day, yeah, these guys are making a lot of money, but none of that matters. You see Johnny Knox get folded up like that, and you heard Jason McKie. The guy is still limping to this day. He said he can run a little bit. What does that tell you? This was a guy that was a 4.32 guy, and you think about how that affected his entire life. He's somebody that I'd love to reach out to and get him on here to tell. I mean, shit, that might be a third book for Aldo to write, the Johnny Knox story. But no, hopefully Jason McKie does go back and just gives Johnny our well wishes, because it's something that's really I think about quite often. I think about Johnny Knox. I see him in pictures, and it saddens me. There's a human element to this, and if you don't think that there is, or you're too immature enough to think that there is, then fuck you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'll tell you one thing. When I was a kid, growing up in Humboldt Park, we used to play tackle football without pads because we couldn't fucking afford it. And I would go home after a Sunday of tackling in the snow or in the mud and so forth, and I would feel like shit. And here I was, 16, 17, 18 years old, at the prime of my physical fitness. I wasn't terrible as an athlete, but I felt it, man. I fucking felt it. and I've talked with a number of people who have played the game at all levels. I talked to a kid who was an outstanding high school quarterback, and he would tell me about the headaches that he would have after a game. He was a quarterback who ran the ball a lot. And man, there's a price. There's a price, and we have to respect that. God damn it, we have to respect that. And some of the messages that I saw thrown at Adrian Amos, it's despicable.
It is. It is.
What the fuck is
That
wrong with
was
you?
awful.
Think about former. Did you guys see that report tonight? Former Bear Mitch Unrein. They released him in Tampa.
No.
He's still suffering from concussion.
8 months it's been, and he's still in concussion protocol. 8 months. Think about that.
Yeah.
And then you want to say that there's no human element to this? Fuck you. Fuck you. You know what? Good for Mitch leaving the Chicago Bears and going to Tampa and getting paid. At least he's going to be able to take care of his family, and who knows if he's going to be able to physically take care of his family. At least the finances that he busted his ass and gave up his body for, at least that money will be there. And then, props to Mitch Unrein and his family. I'm glad you went to Tampa, Mitch, and you got paid. Good for you.
Thank you very much. Well said, Shane. As always, Draft Dr. Phil, who do you got?
I just want to shout out you two, going through what we've gone through throughout the last, 4 or 5 years of building and fighting and clawing and scratching to get here. I just appreciate the brotherhood and the friendship and the compassion, because that's what this show is. And it is important to me to come on here and every week bring it 100 proof and work as hard as I can. Like you said, give everything to Bears Barroom, and you guys are the motivating factor of that, because that's the brotherhood of this network and show. So couldn't be more grateful for what we have here, and obviously all the guys trying out and auditioning, and for the new tailgate show, all of you, and everybody that listens to the show. I'm thinking of you now. So I shout out the Barflies.
Yeah, hey, can I add something about the people who are auditioning for the show?
Yes.
Thank you very fucking much for your interest, for taking the time to send an audition tape. All I ask is this: when you fucking record something, don't do it in front of a jackhammer. It's not good for the audio. Fucking Phil and I are trying to fix this, and I'm like, we can't fucking fix this, man. I got 4 quick shout-outs. Are you done, Phil, before I do mine?
Yes.
All right. I want to shout out Dan Aguirre again. I think this is the second week in a row. Oh my gosh, Dan is just fucking his
machine.
Oh my gosh, Shane told me that just before we went on, he knocked out your script and Phil produced it quickly. But Dan's pipes, man, that fucking adds an element to this show that
amazing.
I might give a testicle to have the pipes that guy has. It's amazing. Thank you, Dan Aguirre. Berlissimo, I want to thank him. He's an integral part of the Bears Barroom. I've been talking to him about his future with the Barroom. I know you guys have. We've got a place for Berlissimo. This guy is a talent, his knowledge of the football game. But beyond that, he sent me a message today that fucking teared me up. And
Really?
Yep. And I'm just going to leave it there. Bellissimo, I promised him I'm not going to extend my hand when I see him. I'm going to give him a Phil Latoshan hug. So hopefully he doesn't have an 8-inch cock either.
He's from Europe. There's no way.
I want to do a shout out to Georgie, who said he was going to kick my fucking ass, and he was going to see me at Bears Camp. We went at it pretty good, and then finally we reached the chord. And so I mentioned that earlier, but I just want to give him a shout out. And then this one is going to really freak you guys out. I'm going to do a shout out to Mike Brez. That's right, Mike Brez, because when he and I agreed to stop following each other, Mike Brez said something to me that I've never shared with you guys, and I've never talked about it openly, But Mike shared his appreciation for what we have built. He said, I will always appreciate guys that make something out of nothing. So he has a lot of respect for what we have built here. Mike Perez is somebody that I disagree with in many, many instances and in many opinions and so forth. He once sent me a tweet saying, who was I to fucking criticize Donald Trump? You know what? I'm a fucking citizen of the United States. I don't give a shit if he's got more money than me. I have First Amendment rights, and I can be critical of him. So those are the things I have with Mike that I disagree with, and sometimes I think he's a little petty with his stuff. But in a moment of one-on-one dialogue, Mike Brez and I saw eye to eye on several things, and he was man enough to share his appreciation for what we have built here. And so a shout out to Mike Brez.
It's ridiculous.
And I'll leave you with this. If you drink, please do not drive. And always, say it with me, guys, bear down!
Bear down! How big was Brez's dick?
Fucking Barroom!